Can you spot the error in this drawing? Hello and welcome to the channel, where I turn video games into glass. I've been playing the most recent Battle Royale game, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, and decided to make the Fall Guys, also known as jelly beans, in stained glass. Since there are lots of costumes, colors, and patterns, I can make any version I want. I will stick with the basic Fall Guy costume because it will be easier to do. I made 3 drawings. The first is trying to make the body as one piece. The second is if the first one breaks at any point of the process because it might signify a flaw in the design, and the third is loosely based on a cell pattern in the game. I use regular scissors to cut up to the paper pattern outline. Then I use 3 bladed scissors to cut out the actual pieces. So I already cut out these 2 pieces for the one piece Fall Guy, but now looking at it, I really don't want to have to deal with these small things. 19 is already going to be hard enough for the multi-piece Fall Guy, so I'm going to have to come up with something else to figure out how to attach hooks to this guy. I was in the process of butchering the face when I realized I could use an X-Acto knife to cut it out instead. Don't worry, I taped the face back together after I cut it out. This is why I put multiple faces in all the drawings that I did, so I have extra in case I mess up a bit. And the fact that I'm going to make the eyes out of solder instead of glass. I have this Vismark crystal and sea blue glass that I've been holding on to for a while, and thought this would look cool in jelly bean form. I'm still deciding where to put it, because obviously this part is going to be cut out, and it will be white. So it's mainly a matter of how much blue versus how much clear do I want on the main body of the Fall Guy. And then for these other colors, for the rest of the multi-piece Fall Guy, I've got all kinds of glass from my various other projects that I've done. I will make the 2 feet at least the same color, but all the other pieces, except for the face, will be different colors. And I'm going to make this piece clear. Can you spot the error in this drawing? I didn't realize it until I started choosing colors. While gluing the Fall Guy onto the glass, my phone camera decided to take a nosedive. Luckily, it didn't land on the glass and break it. I glue the pattern onto the pieces of glass using Elmer's glue. I ended up redrawing 6, 7, and 19 because I want to fine-tune them instead of going with something that I already had cut out previously. I'm leaving them sort of larger on purpose so I have more to work with when I fine-tune them. I wasn't recording when it happened, but while cutting the blue glass, it ended up breaking not along the score line. I had to carefully peel off the Fall Guy and glue it onto a different spot. During the move, the left leg and left arm tore, so I taped them back together. I used a ring saw to cut the complicated or oddly shaped pieces. So in order to cut out the Fall Guy's face, so I can put the white glass in, I'm going to have to drill a hole and then use the ring saw to cut this out. So to drill a hole, I will be using a Dremel. I have a plastic bin and a piece of wood. The piece of wood is so I don't drill into the container and end up creating a mess with the water. I had to switch positions because I'm left-handed. Alright, so there's the hole. I do have to make it a little bit bigger so that the separating blade on the ring saw can actually get through the hole. So I'm going to widen it a little bit. The blade should be able to get through that pretty easily now. This is a separating blade for the ring saw. What makes it different than other blades is that it comes apart. There is a hard to see spot where the blade separates so the glass can be passed through. I tried to make it easier to see though. The grinder is used to smooth out the cuts and refine the shape. I have a habit of leaving a little more glass on the edges than I should. It's mostly because I want a little more wiggle room when grinding. While it takes longer to grind, it's better than over grinding. Once I am happy with how the pieces fit, I wash off the paper and glue with water and dish soap. Copper foil is wrapped around the glass and pressed down with burnishing tools to ensure a snug fit. I hand foil some pieces and use the table foiler for others. For complicated or odd-shaped pieces, hand foiling is the best method. Since I don't have to fiddle with the table foiler, an X-Acto knife is used to cut the corners to be able to fold the foil onto the edges, though I can sometimes get away with just folding the edges over. Before I foil complicated or odd shapes, I put small pieces of foil on each side to prevent the glass from showing if the foil splits. This is called saddling. Foil will split if a curve is too sharp and leave exposed glass, though what counts as too sharp kind of depends. I don't know the exact math, but if I'm unsure if the foil will split, I saddle it anyway just to be on the safe side. An X-Acto knife is used to trim the foil so it lines up with the regular foil. I use a ruler if I need the foil to be straight. I had to be careful when foiling the blue fall guy, because there is still the possibility of him breaking, mainly around the arms and legs, while also trying to make sure there was the same amount of foil on each side of the glass. To make the eyes out of solder, I'll be using a foil sheet and create what is called an overlay that will be superglued onto the glass, similar to what I did in my Dauntless and Dark Souls videos. I taped the pattern onto the foil sheet and cut the eyes out using an X-Acto knife and scissors. I use push pins to make sure the pieces won't move before I can tack the pieces together. I use 60-40 tin lead solder to stick the pieces together, applying flux before I solder. The flux allows the solder to bond to the copper, otherwise the solder won't stick. Once all the pieces are tacked, I remove the push pins and continue soldering. I make hooks using copper wire and attach them to be able to hang the piece once it is finished. Hooks are soldered in a joint because the weight of the piece is on the joint and not the edge. For small pieces, you can get away with attaching hooks to the edge, but not larger pieces. Once everything cools down, I wash the finished project with water and dish soap, then dry it off. I use a patina made specifically for lead that will change the color from silver to black. The excess patina is rinsed off with water. I patina and wax the eyes before I superglue them onto the fall guys. I apply wax to each fall guy to slow down the natural oxidation process. I use my makeshift light box to help align where I need to glue the eyes, but then ran into a problem. Well, there goes my plan for trying to line up the eyeballs. The white glass is too opaque and I can't make out the lines on the drawing. I'm just going to approximate where the eyeballs go. Can I get the lid off? Is it glued itself? Maybe? Ah. Well, I've managed to mangle the tip trying to get it off, so we'll see how this goes.
If you want to know more, I have a tutorial playlist where I explain each step in more detail.
Now I just have to wait for these to dry.
These really do look better in person. Cameras just have trouble capturing the look of the glass. I really like the colors of the multi-piece bean, but I also like the pattern of the blue bean. Maybe I could make a multi-piece patterned bean. Like, share, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see me make down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all through the next pane.